And when we operate out of fear, it doesn't matter what ailment or title you have. And so that's my big thing is I get people out of fear. And fear is just a lack of knowledge, right? It's like all it is. And so when you know how to make sure you, your wife, your kids, everybody doesn't get cancer, you're empowered. You have some serious power at your fingertips. It's a pretty big deal. Honestly, I tell people, like, if everybody did my system, our economy would change overnight.
Welcome to the Have It All podcast. I'm Elon Ferdman, and along with my brother Guy, we're Satori Prime. We've spent the last 16 years on a quest of mastery, and not just in business, all areas. Mastery of our finances, our bodies, our relationships, and most importantly, our minds. You see, while most people fantasize about their dream life, we went out and created it. And you bet we learned a few things along the way. So if you want to gain new skills and tools that will help you achieve the life of your dreams, well, you've come to the right place. So get ready to have your mind expanded. Implement what you learn here today, and you'll start living the life of your dreams instead of just, well, dreaming about it. So are you ready to have it all? Let's go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Have It All podcast. Elon Ferdman here, and today's episode is amazing. Amazing for a whole bunch of reasons. But the woman that you're going to hear from, Maria Whalen, is someone who's responsible for a program called Invincible Wellness. And before I ever interviewed her, I actually reached out to her. I was feeling really, really ill, and I had to be somewhere that day performing and on my game. And I reached out on a whim. I was like, listen, Maria, I know you're an expert at this. What can you do for me? She had me go to a homeopathic store here nearby my neighborhood and just walked me through and gave me all of these things. And I have to tell you, within less than 12 hours, I was feeling not just back on my feet, but amazing. Maria, to say that she's a wealth of experiential knowledge in this field would be a massive, massive understatement. We had an unbelievable time chatting in this interview. And I don't want to steal too much of her story, so I'm going to let her explain it to you, but exceptional. I mean, truly exceptional. It was like someone from the universe or some spiritual world basically gifted this woman with this incredible knowledge, and she just ran with it. And how she came to it is incredible. So I hope you enjoy this podcast or interview, I should say. And also, Maria has been generous enough to invite you guys to a live webinar series that she does where she actually talks about the Invincible Wellness System. As you'll hear on this interview, I mean, healing your entire family from pretty much every ailment, including cancer. So I would definitely at least go and check it out. I've started working with her myself. She's absolutely incredible. And I hope you enjoy this very, very enlightening interview on health. Talk to you guys soon. All right, everyone, welcome back. So today, like I said in the intro, we're about to get a massive education into health and wellness. Maria, first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So Maria is actually backstage almost right now, right in San Diego?
Yep, absolutely. Rainy, beautiful San Diego today.
Yeah. So she's about to speak on stage, but she carved out some time to speak with us. And just interesting side story before Maria dives deep into what she's amazing at. Maria actually got me functional and out of bed before we ever spoke with her wellness teaching. And she just told me today that it was like the tip of the iceberg of what she does. So I'm super excited to learn from you today. So before we jump into that, why don't you just tell a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are right now?
Okay, cool. Well, how I got to where I am right now is a big story, so I'm going to kind of cliff note it, and otherwise we'll be here for quite a while. But I always get asked like, "Hey, why do you do what you do?" And why did you create the Invincible Wellness System and all that stuff? So it's really a twofold story. It started with I was really sick when I was younger. Not really sick, I shouldn't say that. I started with all the usual little ones that we override. And when you don't take care of those, they stack on top of each other. And so that's kind of what I lived with. But I was a professional boxer when I was younger. And so I was very fit on the outside. So people just assumed I was healthy. And I wasn't on the inside. So, it's kind of like if you lift the hood, you see what the engine was really made of.
Mm-hmm.
And, so I suffered with a lot of inflammation, a lot of pain, stuff like that to start out with, and just a lot of like colds, flus, that kind of thing. And then as the years went on, the diagnosis just kept getting bigger. I really kind of joke, like literally, every time somebody comes to us, any new client, the list that they have, I'm always like, yeah, I had that. The list was so long, it was ridiculous. Then as we got into the bigger ones, I had 3 rare autoimmune diseases. One of them is more common. It's lupus. And, you get told the gamut, right? It's not fixable. We don't know why you have it. You just have to manage it. The other 2 were a little bit harder for me. One was a nerve tumor autoimmune disease. So technically I was supposed to have nerve tumors up and down my spine, and that's pretty painful and debilitating. And the other one put me in comas every other week.
Wow.
So that, if you could even just barely grasp what living like that was like, it took a toll on me, and it was for years. And, you start to feel guilty for your family and friends, because it's so, you know how it is. It's a miserable thing to watch somebody suffering that you love. And I just got to a point where I was so sick of the gamut. I was sick of every time I went into one being rushed to the emergency room, poked, prodded, tests, blah, 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 only to be told we don't know why and there's nothing we can do. Here's another medicine. So really the breaking point for me, my doctor's office had called, said he wants to meet with me. He has some results. And I was real sarcastic going in there. And I walked in.
How old were you at this time?
I was in my 20s.
Wow.
So I was fairly young.
A lot to deal with.
Yeah, it was. And this was about a good 10-year, 12-year stint of being sick. So my doctor called me in, and he said, he had this look on his face that was different. And I looked at him and I'm like, Doc, it's okay. I felt bad for him. He always had to be the bearer of bad news, And I'm like, really, just tell me whatever. I don't care. I'm like, really, what could you tell me that would be worse? I'm like, I honestly would love for you to tell me I'm dying. You know what I mean? Like that I'm going to die tomorrow, because I'm just so done with this. And he goes, no, I think this one is going to bother you more. It'll be harder for you. And I was like, I'm so confused. What the heck could you have to say? And he sat me down, he put his hand on my arm. So he was very different. And I went, okay. I'm like, give it to me, and he said, I know that kind of the only reason you've been hanging around in life is because you wanted to have a kid. And I don't think you're ever going to be able to have children. And he was right. That kicked me in the butt. That hit me. I walked out of there in a zone. I was seriously in such a daze. I went and checked myself into a hotel. I was going to take my life.
Wow.
And some really crazy stuff happened that I'm not going to share, because in a little while, I know you're going to gift your audience with my workshop, and I kind of tell the whole thing there. But anyway, when what happened, and I realized I'm still alive, in that moment, that old boxer fighter in me flooded my body. And in that moment, I went, you know what? This is BS. I'm going to fight this. I don't go down easy. I'm like, I am not made to quit. And I also in that moment was like, what I'm doing isn't working, and my body's not designed to be like this. I'm going to figure this out. So that was the first half of the story. The second half is really where I tell people, please focus on this, because most people focus on like, oh, the warrior you fought. And, I know how suffering is. And I had that ailment too. It's not about that. What happened for me on the other side of it was, most people are really focused on getting better. When I healed myself and I figured it out, it was that process, because I did it naturally, but it was that process that made me go, whoa, we have a big problem here. This alternative medicine system is so broken. And it's just as broken as the Western system. And my heart and my passion behind that was, I don't want people back on the Western system. That is not where you want to be.
Yeah.
The only way we're ever going to get people there is to fix this system. And so that's where my passion really came from. So it wasn't just about, honestly, I laugh at ailments, because I'm like, God, it's so easy.
Wow.
Our culture spends so much time looking for a cure, and so much time suffering, and so much time trying things. And it's so freaking easy. It's not easy in the sense of like doing the work, but when you know the blueprint, you just follow the dang map. like we're walking around in this amazing being. We just don't know how to work with it. So, so that's what, prompted me. And it was really more about health freedom for me, because what I created is what I wished I had had during that time. So every single detail I put into my program was what I wished I had, and where I live now, which is my daughter who's 12, they told me I could never have. And, that was a real, proverbial finger to the system. Don't tell me what I can't do. And, and the other thing is I don't do sick. I don't even get a cold in 12 years. And my daughter doesn't know what that is either. Getting a little cold here and there isn't a horrible thing. However, I don't live from that paradigm, and I'll never step foot in a doctor's office. I'll never step foot in even an alternative office from a place of sickness. So that's the key, is I use alternative medicine to take me to the next level, not because I'm sick. Amazing. So so I just created a system. I created so that everybody can have their own system. And that's really what it's about. There's Western, there's alternative, and then there's you.
Amazing. So couple of things that came to mind. One, I'm assuming all of the conditions that you had, the autoimmune conditions, you already healed.
I don't know what those are.
Came back. Yeah, I don't know what those are. How did you come about? Obviously, you were still very sick. So you come out of the hotel room, you're still very sick, fight this and that. This information is not easy to come by. We spoke about that before. Like, there's a lot of stuff that people companies don't want you to know. How did you come to know this stuff?
Yeah, for sure. It's there's a couple reasons. One, I'll just say right off the bat that I've learned to embrace, which is kind of like asking a singer, how did you learn how to sing? An artist, you're just an artist. And I happen to have that gift. And I knew that at a young age because I could see stuff. I could see all of that. And it was part of my stress is because I could see that and I wanted to fix things. And so part of it is just I see the body differently and I listen. I'm the youngest of 5 and my siblings are a lot older than me. And I've learned how to step back and watch. And so the observing and using common sense is a very powerful tool for me in the process. So I also, because I'm such a fighter and I'm Sicilian, I don't quit. And I was really honestly I did everything. I mean, everything you could think of. I bought every online course. I went to every practitioner. I went across the world. I did everything. I read every book that existed because I was, I'm like, I'm not going back and I'm not going down. So there is no way out. I'm making this happen.
Wow.
And as I got in deep in it, I started seeing this theme and I was like, every single thing points back to these 5 pillars. And so that's what I teach people now because I went to those and I just started constructing it from everything. And these 5 places is where your body operates everything from. And so when you know that, it's profound, but the key is to know how to implement it properly, because doing things in the right order is so key, the right timing and the right tools. It's no different than when you were sick last week. I gave you a tool that you didn't even know existed and you were better within minutes, like it's profound when you know those things and it's empowering too. So, there's the 5 places and I teach it on my workshop. So I go more in depth because obviously it's a big conversation, but I'll say these 5 just so people can start to consider it. But it's your hormones, your DNA, your immune system, your physical structure, and the mental emotional component. So those 5 things. And I'll tell you what, you cannot do it with 4. It is all about all 5. Like it's really, really critical. And the funny thing is, this is what I kind of make fun of all the time, is that we use systems with everything else. You would never do one piece of business. You would never just do sales without marketing. It's like everything is a system, but we don't do that with our body. However, our body doesn't operate by itself anywhere.
Yeah.
Not one piece, not even our hair, It's not one thing can operate by itself. So why do we not handle it in a systematic approach, right? And that's what nobody does. So it's really key. That's the difference between getting from a little bit better, I always hear those conversations, to like health freedom.
Yeah.
That's a very big difference.
There's also something to be said about I think there's systems that people have, but they're so archaic, whether we're talking about sleep systems or raising children systems or learn systems. And now I think, when you become an entrepreneur, you just realize that all of these systems that you were taught or mimicked, I should say, not even taught, are just worthless. So it's always interesting to kind of find out, okay, what's that newest high tech, biohacked system. So let's talk.
It really has to do with what you want at the end result, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, if you're not clear on what is the end result you want to have, that you can systematically go to the bathroom all day long. You know what I mean? That's called religion. You're doing the
I got a system for that too.
Yeah, exactly. But, the results are what we want to look at, and it is a big deal. So, and that is a confusion because a lot of people look at what's the biggest scientific new breakthrough. And it's like, we don't need that. We make it so damn complicated. It's so phenomenal to me. But I just want to say, to touch on what you said, because it's so true, but that's modalities.
Yes.
And that's what I saw. So fast forward to your question before is when I went to school because I thought I had to, I thought, well, I figured this out, but I'm going to go confirm. And my school happened to be alternative and Western. So it was a real blessing because I had to actually study every modality on top of have a Western mindset with it all. And what happened was all my professors were privately coming to me, asking me to help them with their health. And I was like, okay, you all just confirmed exactly what I meant, right? And each modality has its own system. It comes from an archaic approach, like you said. Chinese medicine 5,000 years ago, what you use it for now is very different, and how you use it is very different. So yes, what you said is actually really profound. It's very true.
Talk to me about, you said before that, because I just want to make the distinction for people here. You have, I don't want to say an issue, but what you believe that the alternative medicine system right now isn't what it should be. And your goal is to kind of either clean that up so people don't have to deal with Western. So talk to me a little bit about what that issue is, because a lot of our listeners, I know for a fact, are kind of off the Western thing.
Totally. Yeah.
They're already into that alternative. So what's the issue?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't really beef on the Western stuff because, it's like when people want to be enslaved in that until they're ready to be free from that, they'll get it and they'll hear it. And it's there for a purpose. It's great for emergency medicine, and that's how we should be using it.
Yeah.
So the issue with alternative medicine, and honestly what I do, the difference, I spend so much time on deprogramming everybody from what we know. So it's a lot to wrap your head around, but it's kind of like when smartphones came out and we all looked at it like it was alien, right? And so that's what I've done. I created a model that has never been done before. So it's a little bit hard to wrap our head around. But what I do know and what doesn't work in alternative medicine is that one, again, we're focused on ailments and modalities. And that's where our problem is. So when I say that, I tell people, like, I don't care what ailment you have. That's just a word we put to it to help us understand it. It's always those 5 pillars, and it's always your body. And so when we're using a modality, you see people chasing like, oh, I went and did acupuncture, or I've done this diet, or I went gluten-free, or this. And it's like, those are all pieces. Those are all tiny pieces to a big puzzle. Our body is a complex system. However, you can handle it very simply if you know it and you get the systems and the parts, right? So it's just like an engine. You wouldn't work with a mechanic who doesn't know the parts, who doesn't know how the parts work together. That's anatomy, that's physiology. And we use those things in alternative medicine still from a place of sickness. So we're still we're starting there instead of starting at the foundation. And when you work with your body at that foundational level with literally the organs that we're walking around in and the systems and how they work together, it's going to take care of it, And so if you're just like, I'll have a lot of people come to me, oh, I've got a thyroid issue. I'm like, no, you don't. You have a system.
Every doctor's told me I have a thyroid issue.
Yeah. It's like, no, you have a system issue and you don't understand how your body communicates, right? So you have all those people too who are like, I've learned to listen to my body. And I'm like, well, you don't understand how to interpret it. And until you can interpret it, you can't fully listen to it. You can get the intuitive piece that something's off. But until you know how, to really troubleshoot that properly. So there's a lot of things wrong with it. It's really just the approach. It's very confusing. Every person that comes to us is like, I've spent all my money trying everything. I've tried everything. I swear there's nothing you could tell me that I haven't heard before. And I usually say, give me 5 minutes. I'll tell you about 10 things you've never heard before. I guarantee it. And it's true. And it's not an arrogant thing. I just know because there's so much hype out there. You see people doing cleanses and detoxes and blah, blah, blah. And some of the other things too is just us as consumers. We want everything now and we want the easy way.
Yeah.
And so it's really that short-term pain, long-term gain conversation, So, I do a heavy interview process into my program for that reason. Cause I'm like, there's a lot of people who will take your money happily for the quick fix, but that's not me.
So let's talk about how you operate and who you work with and kind of the process that you take people through. So obviously people are going to find you generally, I will say, because they have some sort of ailment, right? Yeah. Like it's one of those things you don't notice your head till you have a headache. Totally. But ultimately your work is not about treating ailments. It's really just getting your body to a place where it can heal itself and it is healthy always.
Yeah, totally. And I'll define health freedom really quick. So It's 3 things. It's how to heal anything you have now, how to never get anything, and how to do it all yourself. So when you ask who comes in, it's really like a mixture of things. We all tend to not jump on prevention. We tend to wait till there's either a 2x4 or a nuclear bomb that has to hit us, And it's really a matter of the price tag you put on yourself. So I do work with a lot of entrepreneurs. I'm kind of known in the industry for that because most entrepreneurs know that if they go down, their business goes down most of the time. And it's a big deal. And everybody wants the energy and the hit, give me the, I want to keep rolling at, that speed and all that. And that's fine. But the other thing is they want control. They want power. They don't want to be a sitting duck and they don't want to, they want to be in control. That's why we own our own businesses, right? We want to dictate our life. And if you want to dictate your life, you better make sure your health is rock solid. That you're invincible. So I do get a lot of people who do come in with the smaller issues because almost everybody does. We all have something, something we've ignored or we've tolerated and called it normal. So that all the way to the worst things you could come up with. I get a lot of people with 2 weeks to live kind of situations, but I don't speak in ailment title or conversation. I really want people on the bigger conversation because I go all the way. I teach people how to be their own dentist, how to set up their own pharmacy. It's for the whole family, your pets, your kids, everybody. And you do it from your computer and people I pair them with one of my coaches who work very closely with me. So we have people all over the world. And how empowering is that if you literally click on your computer and you go, okay, I'm going to work on all 5 pillars in a 3-month process, step by step incrementally. And, it's also designed very intentionally so that everybody wants the hit. So in the beginning, it's let's get more vitality, more energy. Your libido should be freaking off the charts, right? Because libido doesn't have to be sexual. It's, how you funnel that energy. And if you funnel it into whatever you love doing, your passions and all of that kind of stuff, just, whatever it is, taking care of your kids, running a business, I don't care, playing your sport you love. We all want that, And if you're not operating at that level without it being caffeine induced or some other, synthetic form, if that's not coming naturally from your body, there's something off. And I'll tell you, I could just go through a list of ailments that people needlessly suffer with. Pain, hormone stuff is a huge deal. So, I deal with all ages, all across the board because it doesn't matter. We all have a body and I love men's health. It's a really weird thing. I think because my dad had prostate cancer like 10 years ago and men don't realize how your body doesn't tend to scream as much as women's do because we have a lot of monthly hormonal signals usually that will show us. And when you guys get taken down, it's no joke and it happens quickly, and men are getting prostate cancer at 40. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. But, watching my dad go from this very powerful, strong man to diapers was really hard. And it's changed his life for the rest of his life, and so so stuff like that. So I love, and I just love, because usually when men choose themselves, they go all in, they're very serious about it.
They commit 100%.
Yeah.
So talk to me about like cancer and things like that. When your body is in tune and balanced, like you're talking about, does that prevent things like cancer and some of these other diseases?
So you just put a big bullet on my head. So I'll speak cryptically, but that word gets a lot of people killed. So,
Gotcha.
And not the people with the cancer.
Yeah.
People helping the people with it. So I don't use that word, but what I say is, and I say, hear me loud and clear. Your body can heal anything it creates. Okay. Cancer is not a disease. It's a symptom. And so you kind of have to put two and two together. But what's going on with that industry is, to me, the modern day Holocaust.
Yeah.
It's a very big deal. And it's mixed and layered with all kinds of, people have too much emotion attached to it. So even if you have something that could save somebody's life, most people are offended by that. And It's really, really, really sad. That one subject is, probably the hardest thing for me to watch, because there's so many lies out there about it. And when we operate out of fear, it doesn't matter what ailment or title you have. And so that's my big thing, is I get people out of fear. And fear is just a lack of knowledge, right? It's like all it is. And so when you know how to make sure your wife, your kids, everybody doesn't get cancer, you're empowered. You have some serious power.
Yeah.
Tips. It's a pretty big deal. Honestly, I tell people, like, if everybody did my system, our economy would change overnight. Because we don't realize that everything that runs our government up here is tied to that.
100%. There's that we were talking about that before. Like, money is just used for evil things in this particular instance. So talk to me a little bit about how the process looks like. Is it, dietary? Is it supplementation? Is it exercise based? Is it all of it? What are things that people will do to enhance the 5 pillars?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's everything, but in its distinctions and in the right order. So, just you take one of those pillars out, you take hormones, there's a million different parts. It's like a pinball machine, and on all these things ping off of each other. So it's being able to identify the culprits. So whatever is in your body's way, incorporating what's missing. And so, there's a time and a place. All the tools are different. It's just, knowing the right tools and the powerful ones to use. But it's distinctions, because most, like, even people go, oh, I eat healthy. And I'm like, you have no clue what that means. And let's get those distinctions and why, because it's not just about your diet. It's about how well your body is absorbing it. It's about how it's operating, how it's receiving it, all that kind of stuff. You've got years of damage that you got to fix too, right? It's like, you'd never not take the garbage out of your house for a year. And we don't do that with our body. But of course, it's like cleansing, detoxing, some of that stuff, but doing it at the right time. People don't do that at the right order. It's like, you got to get your vitality. Your immune system needs to be freaking rock solid. Otherwise, you're going to create more problems. I have a lot of people come to me after doing some juice cleanse, and it's like, that's good, but it's only good when it's done in the right time and with all the other pieces to it. So, people tend to feel better immediately, and then we're like, I'm good. And it's like, no, we're going to finish, because we go through and we rock solid your body. So your immune system is indestructible. And, like I said, your hormones are balanced. That's a huge, huge thing. Think about the millions of things that come after. I mean, inflammation, pain, headaches, libido, weight loss, all that kind of, there's so many things, autoimmune diseases. There's so much stuff just, kind of piggybacking off of hormones alone. So, people's ailments start to go away, but then we finish the whole process, because now that's where, it's like building a house, you go and you spackle it and then you seal it, right? So that it's set. So like that, and setting up your own pharmacy, that's a huge thing, as you know.
And you do this all in 3 months?
Mm-hmm.
So this is what you talk about on the webinar series that you do, right?
Yeah, my workshop talks about, the pillars and understanding, because, most people are doing something. if you're in alternative space and you're minded, and you're like, I've done all of these things. So, I tell people like, look, if it did anything for you at the end of spending that time to watch it, other than send you in the right direction instead of wasting your time and money, it's worth it. And then of course in there, I have an application where people can apply if they'd like to. But there's no big deal if they do or don't. It's just educational, and it should be helpful to create some awareness. A lot of people will be like, you didn't tell me how to fix XYZ in there. And it's like, really, that's the whole problem. I'm not going to be part of the problem.
Yeah.
Really, it's kind of funny being in the business and in marketing for years. I get so much crap from people because I don't do blogging. I don't do podcast. I don't do a lot of those things because what am I going to do? If I talk about ailments and I tell you something about an ailment, I'm just being part of the problem.
You're feeding the system.
Exactly. So I get people more understanding what health freedom means. And if you want to live from that place where, you can correct anything that happens instantly, like that quickly. And even if you have chronic stuff, if you know how to fix that and get rid of it, and then you also can be at that place where you're never going to get anything, and then you're totally independent. Autonomy is freaking the greatest thing in the world.
Absolutely. Especially when it comes to your health. It's so funny. You were talking about men and how they get taken down. There's like all these memes and jokes around like a wife or a mom gets sick and she's running around taking care of the whole household. Dad gets the sniffles and he's like in bed like, oh.
Yeah, we call it the man flu.
Yeah, it's so funny. My wife is always making fun of it.
You guys can't handle too much, but that's okay. That's why you don't have babies.
I was going to say, as you took the words out of my mouth, that's why you have the babies. So how often do you run these workshops?
It's an application process always. So people can come in and we do a pretty serious interview in the sense that we want to make sure that we're a good fit for each other, because most people in my program become family. I mean, they really do. I travel the world and everywhere I am. I had a lady in Ireland who I texted, I'm going to be in Ireland next week. And she's like, I'm in Germany, but I'm flying in tonight just to have dinner with you. Wow. And then she flew back to Germany. And that's how we become so close because it's an intimate thing. And, especially if you're helping with your kids and your pets and all of that. And, that's why I created it that way. And I even put in an acute care line, which is what you experienced a little piece of, right? And it's like, when does your kid get sick? Does your kid get sick between 8 and 5 when office hours are there? They don't. They like to get sick at 3 a.m.
Yep.
So, I handle all the acute care calls. I handle all the VIP coaching. So there's, I have a VIP level and I go to people's homes and, help them get completely up to speed. But they work with my coaches, but I get to do all the acute care because I love that part. I love emergency type stuff. So, how invaluable is that? I mean, and just the oral care piece alone, I've had people literally avoid a $5,000 dental bill, because you could heal that. So, and again, that's if I left that piece out, the rest of your body is still compromised, right? Because your oral health is so connected. They're both so connected, like people don't realize most of your cavities come from your gut. So, if you're not fixing all of it and we leave one piece undone, you're just, still a sitting duck. So that's the difference between alternative medicine where people think they're healthy or we guess, or we are into alternative medicine. I hear that a lot. And
yeah,
you need to get to a place of assurance, like where you absolutely know, not just guessing. So that's the big thing. And
right.
Freedom right now is such a big deal in our society with what's going on. And I'll tell you what, if there's one Achilles heel for everybody that they can take everybody down with, it's your health. And it is the most important time now than ever to be really invincible with it and be totally off the system and off the grid. It's
for sure. By the way, for everyone, I just made it super simple. If you just go to satoriprime.com/Maria, you can find out when the next workshop is and sign up there. So one person goes through the process, and at the end of it, they're able to heal their family, heal themselves, heal their family, all that kind of stuff. And then when things
never get anything.
Yeah. So like, are they able to, after 3 months, know how to treat themselves? Is there a follow-up program to it to kind of like continue the conversation?
Yeah, good question. I have a graduate program.
Okay.
I wasn't going to do, but they all beat down my door years ago. They were like, no, we still want to. So we, they're not usually sick. And, 3 months is the time to learn the information and you start to implement. I tell people this is not a race and you got to honor your body. We follow your body. So, some people it may take them longer to get wherever. I don't know what their body debt is, right?
Yeah.
So you go to a finance person, you go, I'm $1 million in debt or I'm going to file bankruptcy. It may take you longer than a month to get out of that. So just depends on where people are starting from and what's required. But yeah, I never just leave people. So they have an option at the end to go into my graduate program and we just do more advanced stuff. And, I used to do retreats a lot and things like that. So yeah.
Is it customized? I mean, I feel like people's hormones are different and diets are different and where they're starting from. How do you kind of get that baseline and do you work custom with each individual?
You are a smart cookie. Honestly, I have to say, like, really, it's amazing because we didn't prep these questions.
No, I never do.
You're the first person who's asked really good, questions. So in the beginning, people have a health assessment. And that's where you get your instantaneous, here's your plan specifically for you, anything like that.
Yeah.
The 5 pillars we all have the same. And, I'm teaching people how to heal the hormone system, not just hormones, which is very different, because that's what everybody in alternative medicine do. They have here, you need this bioidentical or this one. It's not about that at all. And so that process is very similar for everybody, but how you implement it, maybe the levels and that kind of stuff is going to be a little different. So yeah, in the beginning, the first module is your health assessment and orientation, and you get that customized for you. So, and then through the whole process, it's set up very much so that you literally feel like I'm living life with you for 3 months. I'm in your home. I know everything in your environment, because if I didn't, there's a piece that could literally be in the way of all the work you're doing and all the effort,
Yeah.
So when people invest with us, it's a lifetime kind of thing. And, the investment's not cheap, and I don't want it to be cheap because, it comes back twofold, but it also has to be with the value you put on your head. Right.
That's, it's so funny. I think my brother, it was maybe 5 or 6 years ago, we were having a conversation and I don't remember which friend of ours, and he was just all against, we were talking about food at the time, and it was I don't believe in this organic stuff and grass-fed and all that stuff. And I was like, okay. And he was making the argument, so expensive, this and that. And my brother just said, he's like, look, you're either going to pay for it on the way in or you're going to pay for it on the way out. But one way or another, you're going to pay for it. And then you look at statistics about, healthcare and ailments and things that people have to deal with, the amount of money.
I could rant forever on that subject. It's insane.
Unbelievable.
Here, I'm always so do you believe in cancer? Because so you don't believe in the chemicals, but you believe in cancer. And I say that we're so information saturated and we're so results deficient. There's just so much information and people we're asking the wrong questions. That's what it boils down to. It's just absolute insanity. There's no common sense to it at all, and, when people go, I don't want to change my lifestyle. It's well, you're going to have to at some point. So
it's either now by your choice or later with no choice.
Totally. And you know what? Cancer is really freaking expensive. So you think that's expensive? Wait until things happen. And you know what, honestly, that's what kills us the most is when somebody has all these ailments and then they're like, I'm going to go do some energy medicine. And then they come back 10 times worse, or they didn't choose themselves now when they have a chance to turn it around a lot easier. And then what happens when they get the bigger diagnosis and the worst things happen. Of course, I get to deal with that. So it's frustrating because I'm like, it's going to be a lot harder. It's a lot more expensive when you wait. So again, we don't tend to have a preventative mindset in our culture, but wisdom really is key. So when we're wise enough, it's just like you buy your health insurance. I mean, you buy insurance for your car, you buy insurance for your house, because we all understand it. But for some reason, when it comes to health, we all have this illusion that we're Superman, we all think we're invincible without making ourselves invincible,
because history, it's very easy as a human brain. You look at your life and you're like, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm healthy. We tend to forget those moments where we're really, really sick because we just conveniently want to forget them. But
Totally.
yeah, it really is debilitating. I remember when we were supposed to do this interview like a few weeks ago, and I was like, I can't get out of bed. You're like, what do you mean you can't get out of bed?
I was like, perfect.
Here's an opportunity.
Yep. I'm like, now you'll understand. And it's good because we tend to not understand it till it touches us a little bit. It's just about how much does it have to touch us to get our attention, It is.
So,
and even saying we're healthy, that's another big myth in alternative.
Say it one more time.
In alternative medicine, I always have people say I'm very healthy. And I go, how do you know that? So that is a big one. That's again, that difference between, it's like going, I'm wealthy, but not knowing your numbers, and what that means, because what wealth means to one person might mean something different. So
Absolutely.
It's a big, big question to ask ourselves. Why do you know that? And, do you know how to never get anything? That's when you're healthy.
So for those listening right now who are looking to get on the workshop, by the way, again, satoriprime.com/Maria. Can you share with them a couple of bullet points or things that they're going to get on there so that they know what they're attending?
Yeah, absolutely. The bigger premise is those 5 pillars and understanding a little bit about maybe what you're doing right now and why it's you want to switch so you're not wasting your time and money, or a piece that you might have been missing that you want to start implementing or focus on. So it's really just eye-opening into the sense of what it looks like to really be free health-wise and have that. So there's a quote I use and you'll see it in there, but it's by Harriet Tubman. And I say it all the time because this is really what I'm all about. And she says, I've freed thousands of slaves in my lifetime, and I could have freed thousands more if they knew they were slaves. And it's a big deal because a lot of us don't realize what we're a slave to. We're so enslaved to stuff. And when it comes to health. So I work a lot and I help a lot of people in the fitness industry, some big names who've, won a lot of things. And and it doesn't matter because they all think they're healthy, right? They all think they know that kind of stuff. And I love rocking paradigms. I love breaking them down, and I like reinventing them and recreating them for people. So it really doesn't matter where you're at. It's the workshop is invaluable for anybody at any level. The fitness industry. I had a guy, literally, he came out VIP, who's a big name in the bodybuilding world and, used steroids and the usual, and the 5 billion horrific products and supplements, and, he couldn't sleep at night. He had massive digestive issues. And of course, nobody saw that, right? Because he looks good on the outside. And he also has a really huge following and he teaches health. So people, when I can't tell you how many healers and how many health people I meet behind the scenes, and I'm like, you're taking a medicine, you're sick, and you're teaching people health. Like what, should not be acceptable. And he knew it, so there's that feeling of being out of alignment with what you're teaching. And I said to him, in 2 weeks, I'm going to show you how to get the same results. And he was training for a competition and he stopped, he ditched doing the steroids and trusted me. I had him, he was like, he went back and he's changing the industry in his own way now. Cause he's like, I got better results. My muscles changed and I am not doing that anymore.
Wow.
I sleep now, his digestion, everything was better in 2 weeks. Cause of course he was with me. I did an intensive with him, but it was just to show he scratched the surface and can make that big of a difference. So, so when I say that about the workshop, I say that because it really applies to everybody. It doesn't matter what you think, I can guarantee it. I always have people joke that she's forgotten more than you know. So I've just been doing it for a long time. And what makes a huge difference is working with humans. Like,
for sure.
The troubleshooting that we do is second to none. And that's what makes all the difference, because we can talk about health stuff till you're blue in the face. But when you're trying to implement it and something comes up for you, if somebody doesn't know the distinctions and doesn't know how to help you get past that hurdle, that's where people stop. That's where they don't get results, or that's where they only go so far. So, so I explain a lot of that in that workshop that, I can only go so deep. I obviously don't tell people like take XYZ because obviously
you don't know who they are and what they're, Yeah,
exactly.
That's honestly like inside my head, I wanted to ask you all these questions like, okay, if someone has this, this, and this, but honestly, it's like, I've learned this. I worked with a functional medicine doctor, and similar to that guy, when I started working with him, I was in like the best condition physically, mentally, everything of my life. I was just taking different supplements and things like that. And I kind of wanted to see what was happening inside my body. And he said flat out to me, he goes, look, even the best sports car can be going 200 miles an hour and it will seem perfect and it will blow its engine right afterwards. Like, seeing things from the outside makes absolutely no difference. It's when you kind of look under the hood and understand what's happening behind the scenes that you can even begin to have those conversations. So I love that you're teaching that to people. And my thing that I could tell our listeners right now is like, don't wait till the bulldog comes and bites you on the neck. Like, check this stuff out now. Education is power. And whether you do anything with that education or not at the end of the workshop, that's, up to you. You guys are adults. You can decide. But like, to rob yourself of at least gaining insights into what is possible for health, I think not to attend would be just stupid. So again, satoriprime.com.
Well said.
Maria. Yeah.
It is. It's crazy. Why would, if all it did for you was help you prevent your whole family getting cancer, is it worth it? It's a long workshop. It's an hour and a half-ish, I think, or maybe even more, but it's information you're not going to hear anywhere else in the world. And, my application process, I require a deposit, and it's a refundable deposit, but all it is a no-show deposit. And that's because it's the first step where people are choosing themselves, and they're saying yes to freedom. And freedom comes at a price. And so I want to see that people are serious about it. And we can only reach so many people anyway. So, it helps us to know who's serious and all that. So it's really just if people show up to their phone call where they get to meet with us and talk about what they have going on and if we're a fit and all that. And if they don't move forward, they get their money back. So, awesome. It's real. That's the thing. You have nothing to lose. It's crazy not to,
Yeah, that's exactly my point. Like, there's no price tag personally that I think you can put on your health, your family's health, your children's health. So just to get this information, I think is absolutely incredible.
And we'll put our money where our mouth is, right? Because it's easy to say that.
Like, for me, I think it's also, we say this all the time, but like, people pay to pay attention. If they showed up to something and it was free, you pay a certain amount of attention. You spend $10,000, you're going to pay a hell of a lot more attention. And we do
you get better results too.
Yeah.
The nature of
it. Put it into effect versus like, it was interesting, blah, blah, blah. Never do anything with it. So, Maria, first of all, thank you so much for being on here. And I just want to end it with this one question, which we always end it with, which is, if you could go back and tell yourself anything, or, that old adage, like, I wish I knew now what I know then. I wish I knew then what I know now. I said it backwards. What would that be? What would be that piece of advice?
Wow. That's a big question. Let's see. It's a tough one. I have a few. I mean, it's really
you can share a few.
Don't believe what you know is, you know what I mean? Like, I never settle for no or what isn't possible. And freedom does come at a price, and you have to be willing to pay the price. You have to be willing to do whatever it takes. That's the big thing. Is I was all in. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Don't stop at anything. And that's the mentality I had. I don't care what you put in front of me. I will find a way around it. So it's really just that, like, I think we're seeing that in our society too. People are realizing that your silence is really hurting everything. So it's really just, step in, fully participate, and don't stop at anything for what you want. Awesome. Thank you so much for taking time out of your super busy schedule, being backstage with us right now. Thank you. And for everyone else, again, that URL is satoriprime.com/Maria. Thanks, Maria. That's awesome. Thank you so much. It was really fun talking with you. I appreciate it. And awesome getting to know your audience too. So that's it, my friends. That's today's episode. I just want to thank you for being part of our Have It All family, and truly, truly thank you for listening to our podcast.
If you'd like to help or give back in any way possible, the best way would be to share this or any other episode that you loved with your family, friends, or colleagues. And if you'd be so great as to just leave us a rating and a comment on either iTunes or Stitcher, whichever you use, that helps us tremendously. It only takes about 2 to 3 minutes of your time and would mean the world to us. Finally, I want to let you know that if you want to get even more exclusive content from Guy and I, just head over to satoriprime.com and make sure you join our mailing list. Now, I know what you might be thinking, God, not another mailing list, but I promise you, you'll only get an email or two from us per week, and it will always have amazing videos and articles that I'm sure you're going to love. Promise. So until next time, you can join our ongoing conversation at the Have It All Facebook group, where you can let us know how we're doing and what we can do to improve. Love you all, and we'll see you on the next Have It All podcast. Have an amazing, amazing day, my friends.